Blog Talk Radio.
Yes, yes, yes. Shalom, shalom, Habarim. Shalom, brothers and sisters and brothers. This is Yadin here. Yes, yes, yes. Apologies on the delay. Usually at 10 p.m. Some of y'all might have been waiting a little bit longer, and this definitely didn't have nothing to do with all that stuff in Babylon about the debate. But we wanted to speak on that as well. But being as it may, just joining here on the podcast, was running a little bit late. Had something to really take care of, but thank you all who are here, and others who will be joining in the forward. So here. Tuesday podcast, Testify Tuesday, here on the Ear and the Irid. Here we're at the third day of the Shabuah, right? Counting from the first day that they call the Sunday, right? Here the third day of the Shabuah, right? T to T, Testify Tuesday.
I'm going to testify. Has done for I said I'm going to testify what Jah has done for I. When I'm down, He picks me up. When I'm empty, He fills my cup. When obstacles are in my way, He'll remove them for me, I see. And that's why I'm gonna testify what Jah has done for I. Sing it out loud, and I'm gonna testify what Jah has done for I. When my friends try to fight me down, Jah face and stay around, yeah. When they dig pits in my way, yeah, He'll remove them for me, I say. And I'm telling you that I've got to testify what Jah has done for I and I keep on telling you that I've got to testify what Jah has done for I. Has done for I keep on telling you that I'm gonna testify what Jah has done for I. Satan is working every day, trying to lead you all astray. Be careful of who you Jah has done for I. I keep on telling you that I, morning, noon, and night, what Jah has done for I, yeah. While I'm walking through this land, He made me to be a better man. He taught me how to overstand, and He always lead me by my hand, and that's why I've got to testify what Jah has done for I. I keep on telling you that I'm gonna testify what Jah has done for I. Every day, every time, I've got to testify what Jah has done for I.
But yeah,
Never fails me
His name is done for I and I and I and I. Yes, brothers and sisters and brothers. That was part of I and I delay right here and starting out the podcast was testifying, how to testify. It's interesting because, we may testify to I and I ourselves, and then, when we have to testify to others, even to the next generation, to the generation that is following, even I and I and I and I. It challenges I and I, in a good way, to make it applicable and relevant, those truths, and those principles of truth that we know, so it's very good there. But, and listen to Peter Tosh right there, I got to testify the fuller fold and that soundbite loop, it made me recognize that just to share, get into more of it even here, but that testimony and testifying. So it's a little delayed in testifying, at least here, because testifying, there. But here, yeah, we have, this is the 10th of September, so here in the season is the eve, what we call the eve of the Ethiopian New Year. Some might refer to it as a solar new year, the solar cycle, the lunar cycle, of course, coming up. The moon is, the sun moves at a different rate, than the, well, of course, does the sun really move? We did a video on the Rastafari Jews on that particular subject matter because it's like even some of the scientists seem to have been of diverse opinions. But that's that. This is this right here. So, Malcolm, Adis Ahmet Wizwaze, Le Hulachu, Yehun, may a beautifully good, eve of the new year, the Ethiopian New Year, be to you all, and also to your families as well, right here in the season, region for the season. But here we're going to continue right here. Here we're at the third day, right, of this Shabuah, the Parasha, the Torah reading and feeding is known as Ki Tetzeh. Ki Tetzeh, when you go forth. Now, the going forth in this sense, the root, as we explained, Yatzah, means like to come out. Yetziyat is like the Exodus. Ki Tetzeh, when you go forth, and the context here is going forth to battle, to war. Very interesting case study, and command is given right here at the top concerning the rules of warfare, or one might call the law, right? The rules of engagement. Some people call it rules of engagement right here. I'd like to pick up on some of the details of that, but here with the third day, right? So we have the Aliyah here, the reading and feeding for the third day. Stay tuned. Going to bring it forward on the live, with the live chat and the screen, the screen. I'm talking like old timer, right? Oh yeah, talking to the youth. Sometimes we do sound like old timers because we've been here a little longer time. But going to bring it out on the screen. Yeah, the screen. That's what it's called, the screen, right? Gonna bring it on the screen right there. Just give me a moment right here. But here we have the evening song. The evening psalm is Psalm 82, right? As we have reasoned on this from the previous Torah portion, Shoftim. Shoftim is judges. So in Shoftim, we had that principle of tzedek trod. Justice thou shalt pursue. Tzedek trod. Justice or righteousness. Notice the word is repeated, right? That which is like completely, fully righteous, right? Heard this recently, and I share this here, that like a half measure of justice is like almost like no better than no justice at all. Justice has to be full. Righteousness has to be complete. Tzedek is tzedek. That which is just with God, the Almighty, Yahweh Eloheinu, and that which is tzedek with man. Both that vertical relationship, the horizontal relationship, we call this the finding of the true Tau, this true cross, the true mark. And here, Psalm 82, the evening psalm that speaks to corrupt judges arraigned. Verse 6 is a usual verse that causes many differences of opinion when it says, I've said ye are gods. Just to clarify this right here from the Hebrew perspective, the Shoftim, according to HaTorah, are referred to as collectively as the Elohim. So here, today's evening psalm, the evening psalm right here, Psalm 82.
Psalm 82.
מזמור פ"ב, מזמור לאסף,
God standeth in the congregation of the mighty.
אלוהים ניצב בעדת אל.
He judgeth among the gods.
בקרב אלוהים ישפוט.
How long will ye judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? Selah. Defend the poor and fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy. Rid them out of the hand of the wicked. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. But ye shall die like men, and fall like one of the princes. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations.
Psalm 82, evening psalm, pointed for the third day, aka Tuesday, right here. Yes, which I was speaking about. Here, I would like to segue here, give thanks, Rosh, Ayas, and Tafari, Chaber, Shalano, I, fellow, disciple, fellow, associate, and friend here, reasoning and bringing out the reasoning on the good I, E-Y-E-I, and the bad I, E-Y-E-I. Yes, I, which I? Good eye, bad eye. Shema Yisrael.
Ha'ayin ha'tova. Carefully consider the following statement. The optimist believes that this is the best of all possible worlds, and the pessimist believes the optimist is right. Note that both the optimist and the pessimist are believers, but each is responsible for his own vision. We will see what we want to see. With the merciful, you show yourself merciful. And with the upright, you show yourself upright. With the pure, you show yourself pure. And with the crooked, you make yourself seem torturous. Psalm 18, 25 through 26. As Yeshua said, according to your faith, be it done to you. Matthew 8, 13, 9, 29. Choosing to see. Soren Kierkegaard tells the story of two young portrait artists who both sought to capture the essence of beauty in their paintings. One artist looked high and low for the perfect face of beauty, but never found it. Tragically, he later gave up painting and lived in despair. The other artist, however, simply painted every face he saw and found beauty in each one. Now here's your question. Which of the two was the sincerest artist? As Anthony DeMello once astutely noted, we cannot see goodness and beauty outside of ourselves if we fail to see it inside of ourselves first. The eye of the disciple. The way we choose to see is ultimately a spiritual decision. The sages say, whoever has the following three traits is among the disciples of Abinu Abraham, of our father Abraham. And whosoever has three different traits is among the disciples of the wicked Balaam. Those who have a good eye, Ayin Tobah, a humble spirit, Ruach Nimoka, and a lowly soul, Nefesh Shephelah, are the disciples of our forefather Abraham. But those who have an evil eye, Ayin Ra'ah, an arrogant spirit, Ruach Giboah, and a greedy soul, Nefesh Rahaba, are the disciples of Balaam the wicked. Mishnah, Pirkei Avot 5:22. According to these early sages, the difference between the disciples of Abraham and the disciples of Balaam turn on the presence or absence of these three Midot Haleb, qualities of the heart, though the most important of these is Ayin HaTobah, the good eye. The eye of Abraham. But what is a good eye? Is this a metaphor for a Pollyannish outlook on life? To play the glad game by finding the good in every circumstance, no matter how difficult? Is it the practice of a sunny disposition that believes that everything will turn out all right in the end? Reinterpreting all the facts of experience to support the notion that this is best of all possible worlds? Rashi says that one with a good eye esteems another's honor as his own. It's an eye that respects and values what it sees. The Rambam says the good eye is the ability of being satisfied with one's lot in life and being happy over the successes of others. It's an eye free from a spirit of envy or greed. Other sages have said that the good eye indicates a generous spirit towards others. It's an outwardly directed eye that shines forth comfort and care to those in need. A person with a good eye looks at things from the perspective of love. Ayin HaTobah looks at circumstances and especially at other people and finds something beautiful. There is no trace of competition, no envy, no malice in the good eye. There is no harboring of resentment or bitterness. A person with Ayin Tobah does not speak ill of others, nor inwardly wish them any harm. A good eye overlooks the defects of others and sees the virtue and value of the person created B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. The scripture declares, Tov Ayin Hu Yibrak, the one with a good eye will be blessed. Proverbs 22:9. The eye of Balaam. Abraham Lincoln once said, when you look for the bad in mankind, expecting to find it, you surely will. The evil eye, Ayin HaRa'ah, does not want to see the good in others, but relates to the other people as threats to the self. It is the eye of fear, mistrust, anxiety, and loneliness. For that reason, it does not will the good of others, since it inevitably conscious of itself and its own incompleteness, and the well-being of others testify of the self's own sickness. It therefore sees company in darkness and imagines the world in terms that warrants its suspicion. It rationalizes its evil perspective, cynically doubting the motives of others, calling good evil and evil good. This distorted view causes an inversion of values, wherein what is important is deemed insignificant and vice versa. Eventually, this way of seeing leads to madness or settled anger and a fixed denial of all that is worthy and of value. One sage in the Gemara says that no less than 9 out of 10 people die because of Ayin HaRa'ah. Another states that Lashon Hara'ah, evil speech, and an evil eye causes the infliction of Tara'at Ayin, the leprous eye, that is unable to look at things positively. As Yeshua said, your eye is the lamp of your body. When your eye is healthy, Ayin Tovah, Your whole body is full of light, but when it is bad, Ain Hara'ah, your body is full of darkness. Therefore, be careful lest the light in you be darkness. Luke 11:34-35. Tragically, it is possible to have Ain Hara'ah toward God himself. When we doubt his goodness or live in fear of the future, we are not unlike the servant who thought God was a severe man. You take what you did not deposit and you reap what you did not sow. Luke 19:21. Our lack of trust removes the light from our path until we find ourselves in the pit of despair, unable to see the way to go. And then the light in you is darkness. How great is that darkness? Matthew 6:23. The eye of faith. Ain Tovah is the outlook of faith, hope, and love. It is the kingdom of God's perspective. Seeing others with Ain Tovah helps them believe in their worth, and that in turn carries over to the world they inhabit. Living by the principle of charity, therefore, is a means of repairing our world, inviting the best of each other to be disclosed without fear. It is a message of love and grace to others in our lives. You are important. You are valuable. You matter. Your life has eternal significance. Choosing to see the best in others often leads them to see their true worth. It is written, hatred stirs up strife, but love covers a multitude of sins. Proverbs 10:12. In this connection, Kierkegaard wrote, it is always in my power, if I am one who loves, to choose the most lenient explanation. If then, this more lenient or mitigating explanation explains what others lightly-minded, hastily, harshly, hard-heartedly, enviously, maliciously, in short, unlovingly explains summarily as guilt, the mitigating explanation explains this in another way. It removes now one and now another guilt, and in this way reduces the multitude of sins or hides it. Soren Kierkegaard, Work of Love, 1847. What do you want me to do for you? They said to him. Lord, let our eyes be opened. And Yeshua in pity touched their eyes, and immediately they recovered their sight and followed him. Matthew 20:32-34. He can open your eyes too. And we give thanks to the courtesy of John J. Parsons at Hebrew for Christians for the writing.
Yes, I give thanks, Ras Safari, for the reading right there. So there on the good eye, the Ain Tovah, and the bad eye, the Ain Ra. So the Ain Tovah and the Ain Ra. Right there. Which eye? Choose which eye. I.
I'm going to testify.
Which testimony, which eye? All right, the eye testify. Here's a little Rhema tune. Here we have Scrolls of the Levite. Tune right here called Oh I.
Could I never ever stop healing King Selassie? For I know he's the guiding light for I and I. Yes, I could I never ever stop healing King Selassie. Hailing I, Father for all above us tonight. Yeah. Every day Babylonians with their masquerade and parade, living like circus clowns behind the mask, so afraid. But if I ever get the bucket go out when the bottom must drop out, and all the do them I tell them can't get me off the road. Oh, I could I never ever stop healing King Selassie. For I know he's a guiding light for I and I. Yeah. ever stop. Healing King Selassie, hail him high. On a parole above the night. Yeah. The system is like a time bomb waiting to explode. Wicked you can't hide, soon exposed. Now your true self revealing, like torn amongst the road. Yeah, this is the half of the story that's never been told. Oh, I could have never ever stop healing King Selassie. For I know He's the guiding light for I and I. Yes, I could have never ever stop healing King Selassie. Hail him high for the parole. Yeah, Baba Janai. Yeah. Every day Babylonians with their masquerade and parade, living like circus clowns behind their masks, so afraid. But if I every day the bucket go out when the bottom must drop out, and all the girls them a tell them can't get me off the road. Yeah, oh I could have never ever stop healing King Selassie. For I know He's the guiding light for I and I. Yes, I could have never ever stop healing King Selassie. Hail him high for the parole. Yes, I'm Baba Janai. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, oh, hail him high for King. Yeah, hail him high. Hey, yeah, oh, I could have never ever stop healing King Selassie. For I know He's the guiding light for I and I. Yes, I could have never ever stop healing King Selassie. Hail him high for the parole. Oh, Baba Janai. Yes, King Selassie. Rastafari.
Aye. Good eye. Ayin Tova. Having good eye. And it's interesting because how one look upon His Majesty, also reflects what sort of eye, whether it's Ayin Tova, good eye, or Ayin Ra. Have a good eye, that single eye, that Moshiach eye, Yeshua eye, how Moshiach speaks of. Right here. Shiloh.
Oh,
Germany is alive and well. Brothers is well. Oh, the Lion of Judah. Rastafari is alive first. Oh, well, now, well, yeah. Oh, the Lion of Judah. I say, behold, Germany is alive and well.
Yes. So here for this Torah reading and feeding the 49th degree sabbatical study, when you go forth, Ki Tetzei. Here, Parashat, Ki Tetzei, for this sabbatical study.
This I Rastafari sabbatical study for this Shabbat strong. First words, Hebrew Torah, first words. Shalom, Chaverim, Shalom. Hebrew Torah, first words for this 49th weekly Torah portion reading and feeding and I annual Rastafari sabbatical studies for this sabbatical strong. Ki Tetzei. Hebrew first words, we pick up with Deuteronomy chapter 21 from verse 10. First words, Hebrew Torah, first words. Ki Tetzei la milchama al obeka. Unatano Yahuwah Eloheka biyadeka shabita shiba yo. When thou goest forth to battle against thine enemies, and the Yahweh thy Elohim Eloheka deliverest them into thine hands, and thou carriest them away captive. Hebrew Torah, first words for this 49th weekly Torah portion reading and feeding I manna, angel's bread for this Rastafari sabbatical study, for this sabbatical strong. Ki Tetzei la milchama al hobeka una kano Yahuwah Eloheka biyadeka shabita shibuyo. When thou goest forth, Ki Tetzei, when thou goest forth to battle, Ki Tetzei la milchama. Hebrew Torah first words, Ki Tetzei, Ki Tetzei.
So here we're at the third Aliyah here for the third day. Aliyah day. So here. Let's see this right here. Okay, we're gonna go to the LOJ Society right here. Here we're at the wiki page. We left off the wiki page as it gives a good general synopsis. So we went from the first reading, right? First day's reading, the first Aliyah, the Rishon Aliyah, right? Then we had Deuteronomy 21 and 10 to 21:21. Then we had the Sheni Aliyah, Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 22 to 22 and 7. So here's for the third reading, the third Aliyah. So here we have the Shalishi Aliyah, Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 8 to 23, verse 7. So in the Shalishi, third Aliyah, offering up the third reading here, Moshe, he had taught that when one built a new bait, a new house, a new bait, one had to make a parapet, right, for the roof. Let's just click on this right here since we got the wiki. Let's see what they have for a parapet right here. A parapet. What's a parapet defined as? This is a barrier that is an upward extension of the wall at the edge of a roof, a terrace, a balcony, a walkway, or other structure. Now, of course, this word parapet comes from the Italian parapetto, so forth and so on. right? It says where extending above a roof, a parapet, right, may simply be the portion of an exterior wall that continues above the edge line of the roof surface, or may be a continuation of a vertical feature beneath the roof, such as a firewall or party wall. Parapets were originally used to defend buildings from military attack, but today they are primarily used as guardrails. So a parapet or a guardrail to conceal rooftop equipment, reduce wind loads. That's another important point right there, the wind loads on the roof, and to prevent the spread of fires. So here they have a little example right here. This is one crenellated parapet on the bastion of the Kyrenia Castle, Cyprus. I don't know if you can see this well. All right, so instead of just having a flat surface, right, there's that little wall right there. There's a little wall right there. Like that picture, nice blue contrast there. So here. So we're not going into all the different types, but here in the Torah, there is a commandment here in this third aliyah to do such, right? Now, the context of the reasons for it is quite interesting too. Let's touch on this right here if we can. Where we at? Deuteronomy 22:8, right? 22:8. Let's bring this up right here, right? 22:8. Let's go to 22. Deuteronomy chapter 22. There we go, verse 8. Let's bring up the KJV, basic, KJV light. When thou buildest a new house, then thou shalt make a battlement. So the parapet in the KJV version is called battlement for thy roof, that thou bring not blood upon thine house, if any man fall from thence, if any man fall from there. So the context of this battlement was that the H4624, right? Ma'akeh, right? A parapet. So here's defined, like we looked up, parapet. It's defined here as a low wall at the edge of a balcony, roof, etc., or along the sides of a bridge, right? So this is concerning here in the Torah reading right here for the third day aliyah, with protecting that edge so that one would not have blood guilt. So the sense of the ma'akeh, right, has a sense of like to repress, right, to repress. Do we have any, doesn't have a root beyond that here. This says an unused root, but the general idea here is that battlement or that parapet. Why? Right? It says upon thy roof. So it's specific here, right? Gog or Gog, but actually Gog. Gog is the roof, the rooftop, the top, the house top, right? Also the roof of a house, but in the sense of the top of altar of Aishan. So even when we look at the instructions for the altar, the golden altar of Aishan, so the Ketoret, it actually uses the same word right here for the God, right? And the roof, by analogy, the top of the altar is also the God. But the reason for this, for our roof, is that we don't bring, right, the blood, like blood, upon your house. Why? If a man goes up or is on your roof and falls from thence, if a person, right? If a person, let's see, what word? Nafal, yeah, like, so it doesn't really say man, but anyone, right? If one should fall from thence. So this is the word right here, third day aliyah summary overview. So in the Shalishi aliyah, Moshe taught that when one built a new house, they was to make a parapet or a battlement, KJV version, for the roof, so that no one should fall from it. One was not to sow. Secondarily, we have here, not to sow a vineyard, a vineyard, a vineyard, a vineyard with a second kind of seed, nor use the yield of such a vineyard. So secondarily, this is where it speaks about certain mixtures. You know what I mean? That one was not to sow their field with a second kind of seed, right? Nor to use the yield, whatever that vineyard that had been sowed, the second type of seed, seed, not to use the yield of such a vineyard. This is because the soil would not be enough for them, and the product, the produce, or the product of both would not be of good quality. Right? It's interesting. In other words, each type of seed was to have its own type of, you say, ground, and not to be mixed up. Right? So here we have a closed portion. Right? Satuma, closed portion ends here. In continuation of the Aliyah, third Aliyah, the Shalishi Aliyah, Moshe instructed that one was not to plow with an ox and a donkey together. Now, even in the Brit Chadash, I think there's something that I think Paul references this right here. Oh, there we go. Unequally yoked, right? Unequally yoked. So here we have the literal sense concerning plowing, plowing the land, the ground, right? One is not to use an ox and a donkey together. Either one could use two donkeys or maybe two oxes, but not an ox and a donkey together, as their force, right, and their strength, right, is uneven. And of course, the stronger one, right, that would brutalize the weaker one. So here we have Paul saying about do not be unequally, right, in the New Covenant of Brit Chadasha, referring to this right here in the second of the two truths. So as this applies to the animals of the land, it also can have an application and does have an application to the man. So one was not to wear cloth, right? Cloth combining wool and linen, shot nets. There's the whole reasoning on this. And then, I don't know if ones and ones have done this research, but we came across some interesting research, based on even what the Torah says right here that really proves, right, there is a health beneficial, there's benefit for health in observing this. There's some interesting studies. I'll see if I can bring it up and share it with the eye, on like the whole wool and linen, right, together, with certain different researchers and independent researchers all have confirmed from different perspectives the same thing about combining, mixing, like we look at clothing, we look at the tags, and tags tend to be a lot of times very, very mixed with different things, but here the Torah specifies wool and linen, right? Particularly wool and linen, as their integrity and quality would be lowered. Now, when we look at the principles, so we have these different instructions here in the third day Aliyah, but we can see there's a common denominator, running through the two. So here we have another stuma, right? Another closed portion ending here. So in the continuation of the Aliyah, the Shalishi Aliyah, Moshe instructed that one was to make tassels, right? So here we have the tzitzis, the sit, right? The sit, right? On the four corners of the garment, with that one covered oneself, right? So the speaking of the commandment, right, to make those tassels, or otherwise known, people call them fringes, right? The fringes, the sit, right? More fully enunciated, sit, on the four corners of the garment with which one covered oneself. Now, here we have another stuma in the Hebrew, like where the closed portion ends here, right? So it's interesting looking at the open and the closed portions, right? And how this kind of brings into context certain content, right? According to the context. Now, as the reading even further, the Aliyah further continues, Moshe furthermore instructed that if a man married a woman, cohabited with her, and took an aversion to her, right? I think the Torah says like he found something in her that he did not like or did not love. Is a particular interesting language to KJV, but bringing it out here in the summary, took an aversion to her, and furthermore, he falsely charged her with not having been a virgin, a betula, a virgin. It's interesting to see what word for virgins used here and some of the other kind of controversies, controversies. But if he then charging her now, giving her like a bad name, charging her with not being a virgin at the time of her marriage. So now check out this man. So he marries a woman, he cohabits with her, and now he found something that he doesn't like. He has aversion to, right? Some evil. I think it says something like that in her. And then he falsely charges her with not having been a virgin at the time of the marriage. Didn't say nothing at that time, huh? Then the man's parents, then the woman's parents, the woman's parents, the wife, the woman's parents, right, were to produce the cloth with evidence of the woman's virginity. So this is like we get to know, based on the context of the time, this is how it was done, as Moshe or Robenu would say, like in times past, right? Right? They would have that evidence. So they bring forth, the parents bring forth that evidence to the town's elders at the town gate. Now, remember from the previous Torah reading and feeding, Shoftim? In Shoftim, we have the judges and officers in all of thy gates. You see where it says gates? And the elders, as well as officers, and certain things was kind of litigated or reasoned on at the town gates. So this is where this would now be, according to what the Torah has written here, adjudicated. Right? Is the man correct in his charges? Right? Well, now the parents, the father, the parents are bringing forth the evidence. Now the elders here, right? Seeing the role of the elders, Zikanim, the Ziknei Yisrael, the elders of Israel, and the elders in this particular town and these particular gates were then to have the man flogged. Because notice, he married a woman, he cohabited, lived with her, right? Consummated, no doubt, the marriage, Then at some time took a aversion to her, and then went even further than that to falsely charge her with not being a virgin, right, at the time of marriage. When the evidence comes forward, the elders would have that man flogged, right, and fined. So not only was he to be fined, but he was to be flogged, to beat, whipped, right, and fine him 100 shekalim of kesef, 100 shekels of silver. Now, a shekel, basically, it could be a coin. You could have a coin as a shekel, but what the Torah is stating right here is a shekel as a weight. It's like a weight and measures. Remember, even this Torah reading and feeding, part of righteousness is keeping to righteous weights and measures, right? 100 shekalim of kesef, 100 shekels of silver, was to be paid to the woman's father, right? To the woman's father, and by extension to the woman's parents. Now, the woman was to remain, right? Was to remain the man's Isha, the man's Eshet, Arset, the man's wife, the man's woman / wife. Isha brings out both of those senses in the Hebrew. And he was never to have the right to divorce her. So in a sense, she's more or less set in this position. It's very, very interesting because he already, had embarrassed and shamed the woman, her family, her name, so forth and so on. Now, this man could not divorce her. Now, recognize this, with the community being very closely knit. We're all in the same area. The family's in the same area. It's very interesting, this ruling here. So here we have another stuma, right, where a closed portion ends here. In other words, that woman, in a sense, would be entitled because the false accusation and the shame brought by her husband, right? In the continuation of the Shalishi Aliyah, Moshe instructed that if the Zikanim, the elders, if they found that a Isha, a woman, had not been a virgin, then the woman, right, was to be brought to the entrance of her father's house. Right? So you see this idea of the entrance, not enter into the father's house, but the entrance, the gates, right? And according to the Torah, stoned to death by the men of her town, right? And here, another Sutuma closed portion ends here. Now, no one's looking at this from today's eye. What kind of eye do we have as we see this? What type of ear? As Moshe Rabboni Yeshua said, take heed to how you hear. In the continuation of the Aliyah, Moshe instructed that if a man was found laying sexually with another man's Isha, Eshet, Orset, wife, woman, both the man and the woman with whom he lay were to die. Now, before we get to the next one right here, Remember the woman that was caught in adultery? A lot of people have some interesting kind of commentaries on that. When they had brought the woman that was caught in adultery, like so-called red-handed in the act of adultery, and they brought the woman to Yeshua, Robbeinu, Einai Rabbi, the rabbi of rabbis, and they asked, well, what did Moses say? What should we do right here? Notice when you read the Gospels and the testimony that's seen, Adonai was writing, Yeshua was writing, Adon was writing on the ground. You know, and there's many ones of us that have said, I wonder what he was writing on the ground. And there's an area in the scripture, I think it's a psalm, or is the prophets, but probably a psalm. It says that their name shall be written in the earth. Their name shall be written in the earth, because they were like chatting and like, oh, Moses says this, and this is what we should do, so forth and so on. But what was wrong about that case? The case they had brought basically a false case, because it says that the man and the woman, was the woman committing, she was caught in the act of adultery by herself? Was adultery something that you can just do by yourself and to yourself? And then notice Yeshua was just allowing them to chat up and talk, and he was writing on the ground. And then when he rose up and he stood up, what did he say to them? He who is without sin cast the first stone. Now, here's where a lot of Torah-less, believers that don't really have a groundation, just jumping in it from out of the Gentile world, and they see this here and they bring their Gentile philosophies and ideas. They make it seem like, well, the sin is any type of sin, any type of wrong. No, it's specifying here. See, Yeshua saw deeper. He knew, what was in their houses and what was in their hearts and what was in their pockets. You know what I mean? That's why he was writing on the ground, all right? And he says, let them cast the first stone. Remember in the previous Torah reading and feeding, it said that the witness, right, that if one brought a case, right, and that case was adjudicated, right, and there were witnesses, 2 or 3, and this is a capital punishment, right? Therefore, the hand of who? The hand, right, of the witness, right, and the witnesses will be the first ones to throw stones, right? As it says, he who is without sin, as pertaining to this matter. A lot of people generalize it. That means that we're not supposed to judge anything, but notice what Yeshua does, right? He said to the woman, where's your accusers? And she said, there are none. And he says, neither does I accuse you either. Yeshua knew. Yeshua no doubt knew who the person was. Of course he did. The Bein Elohim Hayim, of course. He knew or had the power to know. But he says, neither do I accuse you. Then he told her to go forth and to do no more such. You know what I mean? Basically, he observed that she definitely did do something, but notice the way that they brought forth the case and then invoked Moses, right, was contrary to the Torah, and Yeshua knew that. So it's a proper, a proper rightly dividing the word, rightly understanding the word, rightly applying HaTorah, right? Another close portion ended there. Just our little commentary on that, just to bring it from there and then show it in the light of Yeshua HaMoshiach. So as the reading, the Aliyah continued, right, Moshe, he instructed that if in a city a man lay with a virgin, right, who was engaged to a man, so this virgin here, and this daughter, right, she is basically engaged, betrothed, as they say, to a man, right, then the authorities were to take the 2 of them to the town gate. Once again, the gate. Remember, it says that judges and officers, shoftim and shotarim, shall you have in all of your gates, sha'areka. So here, they will bring the 2 of them to the town sha'ar, to the gate, and to stone them to death. The girl, why the virgin? The girl, because she did not cry for help. Right now, once we pause in this and say, but wait, the man raped her. No, hold on for a moment. Don't use the RAP word so loosely there. Right? There's a context. Notice where it says the context is in a city. In a city, in a well-populated area. Right? It's interesting because I heard this, but I don't know the providence of it. But I'll share this right here, just on this point, not to endorse the Nation of Islam or any of that Mohammedanism, even though it might have had a beneficial among some of our people over here, but we don't endorse that. But some wisdom of even the one they call the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Farrakhan was said to have come to him for a similar case where a woman said that, oh, she'll know what happened. This man had sex with her and she was trying to maintain herself in a, quote, virgin-like, end quote, way, right? And so Farrakhan was said, I think Farrakhan related the story at some time in the past that he was very like moved to really like, support, like the woman's case in this. So he said, well, ask Elijah Muhammad as a elder in this sense, right? Not his religion or whatnot, but the wisdom here. He said to ask, when they did this act, had sexual intercourse, did they just do it like wherever they was at? Did they go try to find like a sheltered place, a room? Did they close the door? Was the lights on? Was the lights off? You get what we're saying right here. So it goes to intent, right? It goes to intent. And the context here is that if this is in a city, see, there's a difference between city and town and country. And, this is the reason why when it says the girl did not cry for help, this implies consent. This implies consent. You know what I mean? Because if one back in the past, maybe even more than the present, did not want to, you know what I mean? They would not suffer it, allow it. And they'll be like when they say about a crime, they say, was there signs of struggle? You know what I mean? There's some signs of struggle. That means the person didn't willingly, but no, there was no sign of struggle. No, they must have let in the person. There was no break-in. So implying the consent, right? And therefore the infidelity, even when there was already, right, a compromise from her and the man, right, because he slept with another man's Isha, Esha, right? So here again, a closed portion ends here. So this is very important because this also goes with what the Mashiach was saying when he says if a man looks upon a woman to lust, right? The context of it is if a man looks upon another man's wife to have a desire for her that he should not. This eventually will lead to such, a situation. But in the continuation of the aliyah, so if you cut off the desire, you stop the act. Every act begins from a certain desire, thought. So in the continuation of the aliyah, Moshe instructed that if the man lay with the girl by force, you see, and by force, the key word, chazak. Now, chazak is not a bad word, but some who have been looking over this might think of it as a bad word because they haven't studied Hebrew here a little, there a little, but here the by force, this implies what we will call the RAPE of today, right? In the open country. Right? In the open country, like, in the open parts of the Paganas, not the urban. The urban is the city, right? The Paganas is the countryside. In the open country, then only the man was to die, right? As she cried for help, right? And there was no one to save her, right? So here we even see some legal principles. Now, one would say, well, how do we know she cried for help? Right? We know that even if she did cry for help, right? There was no doubt in further examination, signs of struggle, right? Now, the essence of the Torah here, right? It compared this vile act to a murderer. So further to bring out that this one right here is that case of the RAPE, right? But bringing out some principles of the act, to bring out the sense of consent and intent. So the law, Torah, direction instructions here compares this vile, this despicable, this disgusting act to a murderer, right? So this man, so basically in Torah, the RAPE is equivalent with murder, right? Another closed portion, Satuma, ends right here. So in the continuation of the Aliyah, right, Moshe instructed, each of these are very good case studies, right, from the Torah law, and we can see how some of this might have, for a better, influence common law of the Gentiles. Moshe here instructed that if a man seized, right, even that word seized needs to be looked in, seized, it goes with a sense of force, a virgin who was not engaged and lay with her, right, then the man was to pay the girl's father 50, right, shekalim of kesef. She was to become the man's Isha, Esha, and he was never to have the right to divorce her. Right now, of course, this here might be somewhat controversial, looked at from today's view, but we'd like to get into that reasoning here. But let's look at each case, right, and then let's compare and contrast. So a closed Satuma, right, or portion ends here with the end of the chapter. right? So how do we get the chapters and the verses kind of put together? It's because of these little nuances that we find within a proper Torah scroll. So as the reading and also the context of what's being talked about, as the reading continues in chapter 23, Moses instructed that no man could marry his father's former wife after his passing. Another Satuma, closed portion ends here. Continuation, reading, Moshe taught that in Yahweh Elohim's service, right, congregation, the Levites, right, could not admit into the membership anyone whose testes were crushed and whose member was cut off. Now here, again, the Satuma ends here. Now, it's also important to go over this right here because remember the Hebrew two truths, right? Two truths. So we have the literal, the earthly type, right? Then we have the heavenly, the figure types, the outer example, the inner example. Yeshua Robeno gave that case in point, which says anyone who is angry with his brother out of cause. So that means there are certain cause, especially Torah-wise, going against Yahweh's instruction direction, where one could be angry with their brother. Right, but without cause is a murderer already. So if you cut off that unrighteous anger, so there is the outer act, the actual murder, and also the intent. Although Torah doesn't often directly call it intent in translation, we can clearly see by the context of the language its intent. But here in this continuation, right, it taught that no one, speaking of the Levites, right, the Levites. A lot of people apply this to everybody. They say, oh, what is that? And they'll say, well, when it goes on to talk about anyone who's like a Moabite, I think we're coming up to that. They say, well, look at Ruth. Well, if you look at the Hebrew, it says any male Moabite or Ammonite, if you look at it carefully. But here, looking at it carefully, it's not speaking of all of Israel, but speaking of those who serve, right? And who serves in the holy, according to Moshe's law, is the Levites, both the Kohanim, the priests, and the rank and file Levites could not be admitted into the membership, right? Anyone whose testes were crushed. Well, that's a literal thing, right? There's also the figurative sense, right? Or whose member was cut off, right? One might have it, but acts like, they say they be a man. Well, we can go into that. In the continuation of the Aliyah, right, Moshe, he taught that Yahweh Elohim's service congregation, right? So the context is speaking of the Levites, right? Those who officiated, because in the law of Moshe, only the Levites, right, in general, and specifically the sons of Aharon, the Kohanim, could, right, do that service. The rank and file Israelites, we brought our offerings, we brought our blessings, not our blessing, but our offerings for the blessings, or offerings for sin. And we acknowledge, but it was the Levites and the Kohanim that actually did the service. Why? Well, see the molten calf incident. But here in the continuation, it says that they could not admit into the membership anyone misbegotten. Now, the word misbegotten, or in the King James Version, the setting says the bastard. This is the word mamzer, 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 mamzer. Mamzer, like a mamzer, right? A bastard or misbegotten, or anyone descended within 10 generations of one misbegotten. A closed portion ends here. Now, it's important to understand this because some have brought up cases of David, because they say he came from a Moabite, and Ruth, she was a Moabite, and they misunderstand, because in the KJV version, from that understanding, it seems like it's speaking about them. But there is both the context of those who did the service was not the rank and file 12 tribes of Israel, but actually was the 13th tribe. Yes, there's a 13th tribe even in Torah. It was the Levites, right? But in the continuation, right, as the reading continues, right, Moshe instructed that, this is speaking of Hashem's congregation service, the service congregation, who are, in other words, remember, the 12 tribes were numbered separately, mainly for war, right? And the Levites were numbered separately from the 12, mainly for the service of Yahweh. This is the context. Yah's service congregation, who are they? Halloween, the Levites, could not admit into membership any Ammonites or Moabites or anyone descended within 10 generations from an Ammonite or Moabite, right? As long as they lived, the Israelites, the Bnei Yisrael, the sons of Israel, right, were not to concern themselves with the welfare, right, or benefit of Ammonites or Moabites, right, because they did not meet the Israelites, right, with food and water after the Israelites left Mitzrayim, or the two lands of Tawi, ancient Egypt, and because they hired Balaam, to curse the Bnei Yisrael, the sons of Israel, the Israelites. But Yahweh refused to heed Balaam and turning his curse into a baraka. So here, the third reading, the Shalishi, Aliyah, and we have a Satuma, a closed portion, ends right here, here. Now, here's what's interesting is that we actually have the third and fourth Aliyah right here together. And we like to go over, like the overview, right, of what is contained in it. And then even zoom in on some of the details that can help clarify a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of mistranslations. So let's just go forward right here, if we will, with the fourth Aliyah, right, the Rebi'i Aliyah, Deuteronomy 23 and 8 to verse 24. So in the Rebi'i Aliyah, the fourth Aliyah, which would be properly for the midway day, the middle of the Shabuah, aka Wednesday, the fourth day, Moshe, he told the Bnei Yisrael not to abhor the Edomites, right? Notice, if you will, there's a slight distinction, right? And there is a difference, relatable difference between abhor and hate. It says to abhor, right, to treat as disgusting the Edomites, for they were kinsmen, right? Nor the Egyptians, right, to abhor them, for the Bnei Yisrael were strangers in Mitzrayim, right? Great grandchildren of Edomites or Egyptians could be admitted into the congregation, right? Into the congregation of the worshipers in the holy place, right? Or to enter into the congregation of the worshipers, right? A close portion ends here. So this is an interesting point as well, right? Where Moses instructs the Israelites not to abhor the Edomites, right? Or the Egyptians, and how the great grandchildren of Edomites or Egyptians could be admitted into the congregation. Continuation of the reading, Moshe taught that any Bnei Yisrael, right, Israelite, rendered unclean by a nocturnal emission, like what they call, like a wet dream, by a wet dream, had to leave the Bnei Yisraeli, the Israelite military, Sava, right, the Menach, the camp of the military, had to leave the military camp, right? Now notice the context of it, right? It gives further instructions that if one had a nocturnal emission and not in the military, what they were to do, right? But here it says, rendered unclean by a nocturnal emission, had to leave the military camp, right? Bathe in water, right, towards the evening, right, and re-enter the camp at sundown, right? Just understand that context right there, right, and how it's linked here with the military, right, because this Torah reading and feeding kind of begins off, right, on a kind of a militaristic, instruction concerning the rules of engagement, right, both for in war, but here for after war, right? So this is also very interesting, the connection, because when it says the camp, it's speaking of the military camp, right? One who was in the community, this happened, would basically do something similar, right? They would not have to leave the camp, the general camp, but would be unclean until sunlight down, right? The Bnei Yisrael were to designate areas outside the camp, right? The military camp, the war camp, where they might relieve themselves, and to carry a spike, and to dig a hole, and to cover up their excrement, right? And it's interesting because that also be put on the, put on the like the, some say it was like connected to the weapon, like as it were. But it's interesting that even this little detail, why would this detail about where people would put their excrement, right? Simply put, hope nobody's offended, but the truth is an offense, not a sin, right? That Yahuwah didn't want to see no shite, no shit in the camp, because Yahuwah moved about in their camp. It was how it reads in the Hebrew is interesting, because he says basically no excrement, no doodle, no shit in the camp. And it says because Yahuwah by Elohim, your Elohim moves about in the camp, right, to protect them, right? So the Bnei Yisrael, right, were to keep their camp set apart, their camp holy. A closed portion, right, Satuma ends here. Right. In continuation of the Aliyah, the fourth Aliyah, Rebi'i Aliyah, Moshe taught that if a servant, right, one who's a bond servant, right, sought refuge with the Bnei Yisrael were not to turn the servant, they call today slave, Slav, over to the servant or Slav master, but were to let the former slave and enslaved or bond person live in any place the former might choose, and not to ill-treat the former bond person, slave, and slave. So close to Tuma ends here. In continuation of the reading, the Rabbi Aliyah, Moshe, he forbade the Bnei Yisrael, the sons of Israel, to act as harlots, as whores, as sodomites, or cult prostitutes. I ain't got to touch on that, cult prostitutes, because I think that's a part, that's what the Kadesha, people the Kadesh and the Kadesha, it sounds similar to the word like for holy, Kadosh and Kedushim, but it's important to understand the context. As visibly devoted to Yahweh's ways, they are that devoted, right, to prostitution and, sexual, how can we say, cult worship, right? And from bringing the wages of prostitution into the Beit El, into the Bethel, into the house of God, the Almighty, in fulfillment of any vow, right? So a Satuma, closed portion ends here. Continuation of the Rebi'i Aliyah. Moshe also forbade the Bnei Yisrael, the Israelites, to charge interest on loans to their countrymen. What does that mean, Chabarim? So this whole thing about interest, I hear one say, well, the Jews, they're not supposed to charge interest. Why they don't charge interest to each other, but they charge it to others? Well, that is still based on the principle that we have in the Torah here. If obey the sons of Israel, the children of Israel, on charging interest or usury on loans to their fellows, to one another, to their countrymen. But they could charge interest on loans to foreigners or to other nations. And in context of the Baraka, the blessing says that we will lend to others, but they will not lend to us. So let's take note of that, because a closed portion ends right there, right? To understand the whole usury thing in its context. I mean, we, even as once lost, now found, black and brown, Beta Israel people, we can even do that now. Give one a loan, pay back the loan. Don't worry about the interest, just pay back the loan, and preferably on time. In the continuation of the Rebi'i Aliyah, last part here, Moshe required that the Bnei Yisrael, the Israelites or the sons of Israel, promptly to fulfill, right? Promptly, on time, to fulfill vows, votive offering. Oh, yeah, if you would do this for me, this is what I will do. I will offer this. I will give this to you, right? Therefore, when those things have come to pass, right, to fulfill or to pay their vow, to make peace, shalom with their vow, right? But they incurred no guilt, right? So the actual trespass is one thing, and then the guilt is another thing. So for sin, usually there's the offering for sin, and then there's the offering for the guilt, right? So it says guiltiness rests upon them conscience. But in this context, they incurred no guilt if they refrained from vowing. This here we see Robbeinu Yeshua kind of expand on, but getting to the very root idea. Let your yea be yea, your can, right? Your can, and your low, and your nay, or just refrain from vowing. So here the Rebbe'i, the fourth Aliyah, the fourth reading, and the Satuma ends right here. And then, we'll pick up with that, the fifth reading, usually appointed for our study amongst I and I disciples. So disciples in the fifth day, we study an Aliyah a day. So here for this Torah reading and feeding, just the overview right there. And here,
Shema Yisrael, here for the Shalishi, Aliyah. Here for the third reading, third up offering. Here for this Shabbat, Kitei, Sabbath, when thou goest forth. Here picking up with the fifth book of Moses, Hebrew book called Deuteronomy chapter 22. Here at verse 8 for the Shalishi, for the third Aliyah, third up offering up, third reading. Ki tivneh bayita chadash with asita ma ekeh le gageka with lo tasim damim bebeiteka ki ipola hanofel mimenu. When thou buildest a new house, Ki tivneh bayit chadash, then thou shalt make a battlement for the roof with asita ma'ikeh legageka, that thou bring not blood upon thine house, welo tasim damim bebeiteka, if any man fall from there. Kia yipola hanofela mimenu. Here, the law of separation. The law of separation, verse 9. Thou shalt not sow thy vineyard with diverse seeds, lest the fruit of thy seed which thou hast sown, and the fruit of thy vineyard, be defiled. Thou shalt not plow with an ox and an ass together. Thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together. Thou shalt make thee fringes upon the four quarters of thy vesture. Thou shalt make thee fringes upon the four quarters of thy vesture, wherewith thou coverest thyself. The innocent wife, the innocent Isha, Eshet, protected. Verse 13. If any man take a Isha, a Eshet, a wife, and go into her, and hate her, and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid. Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity to the elders of the city in the gate. And the damsel's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man to wife, to Isha, and he hateth her. And lo, he hath given occasions of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid. And yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity, and they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. And the elders of that city shall take that man and chastise him and discipline him, and they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of kesef of silver, and give them to the father of the damsel, because he hath brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Yisrael. And she shall be Ishto, his wife. He may not put her away all his days. The guilty wife, the guilty Isha, Eshet, to be stoned. Verse 20. But if this thing be true, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's bait, her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones that she die, because she hath wrought folly in Yisrael, to play the whore in her father's bait, in her father's house. So shalt thou put evil away from among you. If a man be found lying sexually with a woman married to an husband, if a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, then they shall both of them die. Both. the man that lay sexually with the woman and the woman, so shalt thou put away evil from Israel. If a damsel, that is, a virgin, be betrothed to an husband, and a man find her in the city and lie sexually with her, then ye all shall bring them both out to the gate of that city, and ye all shall stone them with stones, that they die. The damsel, because she cried not, being in the city, and the man, because he hath humbled his neighbor's Eshet, his neighbor's wife. So thou shalt put away evil from among you. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie sexually with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. But to the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin, no chatiat, no uckery worthy of death. For as when a man riseth against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was no one to save her. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie sexually with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give to the damsel's father 50 shekels of kesef of silver, and she shall be ishto, his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. A man shall not take his father's Isha, his father's wife, nor discover his father's skirt. And here, Shema Yisrael, give ear, Deuteronomy chapter 23, divers regulations. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his privy member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of Jehovah. A bastard shall not enter into the aggregation of Jehovah. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the aggregation of Jehovah. An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the aggregation of Yahweh of Jehovah. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the aggregation of Yahweh of Jehovah forever, forever. Because they met you not with bread and with water in the way, when y'all came forth, Mitzrayim, out of Kemet, out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee, Balaam, the son of Beor of Petor of Mesopotamia, to curse thee, Nevertheless, Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah, the I Elohim, would not hearken to Balaam, but Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah, the I Elohim, turned the curse into a baraka, a blessing to the I, because Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah, the I Elohim, loved thee I. Thou shalt not seek their peace, their shalom, nor their prosperity all thy days forever. For I. And here, Shema Yisrael, here, give ear right here. For the Rebi'i, here for the fourth reading, the fourth of offering, the Rebi'i Aliyah, here for this Shabbat, Ki Teitzei, Sabbath, when thou goest forth. Here, Deuteronomy chapter 23, here at verse 7 in the KJV, verse 8 in the Sefer, here in the Chumash. Lo tita'e domiya kiya achika hu. Lo tita'e mitzri kiya gera hayita be'arzo. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Lo tita'ev edomi ki achika hu. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, a Chemite, because thou wast a stranger in his land. Lo tita'era mitri, ki ger hayita be'arso. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation, aggregation of Yahweh, of Jehovah, in their third generation. When the host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep thee from every wicked, from every ratchet thing. If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness that chanceth him by night, then shall he go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp. But it shall be, when evening cometh on, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again. Thou shalt have a place also without the camp, whither, where thou shalt go forth abroad. And thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon, and it shall be, when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. Ki Yahweh Eloheka, for Jehovah the I Elohim walketh in the midst of the I camp, to deliver the I, and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy, be set apart, that he see no unclean thing in thee, and turn away from thee. Thou shalt not deliver to his master, the servant which is escaped from his master to thee. He shall dwell with thee, even among you, in that place which he shall choose, in one of thy gates, where it liketh him best. Thou shalt not oppress him, thou shalt not downpress him. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Yisrael, nor sodomite of the sons of Yisrael. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the bait, the house of Yahweh Eloheka, of Jehovah the I Elohim, for any vow. For even both these are abomination la Yahweh Eloheka, to Jehovah the I Elohim. Thou shalt not lend upon usury, interest, to Achika, thy brother Wendemih. Usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury, interest. To a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, interest, but to Achika, thy brother Wendemih, thou shalt not lend upon usury, interest, that Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah the I Elohim, may bless thee in all that thou settest Yadika, the I hand to, in the land whither where thou goest to possess it, to possess her. When thou shalt vow a vow la Yahweh Eloheka, to Jehovah the I Elohim, thou shalt not slack to pay it. Ki Yahweh Eloheka, for Jehovah the I Elohim will surely require it of the I, and it would be chatiyat, it would be uckery, lack, sin, forfeiture in the I. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no chatiyat, it shall be no sin, no lack, no uckery, no forfeiture in the I. That which is gone out of thy lips, thou shalt keep and perform, even a free will offering, according as thou hast vowed la Yahweh Eloheka, to Jehovah the I Elohim, which thou hast promised with thy mouth, 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 thy mouth.
Yes. Words of thy mouth, meditation of thy heart. Right here for this
sabbatical study, this I Rastafari sabbatical study for this Shabbat strong, Shabbat strong, Shabbat strong, Shabbat strong, Shabbat strong, Shabbat strong.
I'm going to testify. What Jah has done for I said I'm going
here today's daily psalm. Here we have today's daily psalm, the fourth psalm here in the season, reason for the season, Psalm 4. Psalm 4 is themed, Mizmor Dalet is themed an evening prayer in relief, an evening prayer in relief. Getting some of the details, but first, let's just ride up the chant right here. A couple of Hebrew highlights. Shema Yisrael.
מזמור ד' למנצח בנגינות מזמור לדוד.
Hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness, my righteousness, my righteousness, my righteousness.
בקוראי ענני אלוהי צדקי.
Thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress.
בצר הרחבת לי.
Have mercy upon me, and hear my prayer,
חונני ושמע תפילתי.
O ye sons of men.
בני איש.
How long will ye turn my glory into shame? How long will ye love vanity and seek after leasing? Selah. But know that the Lord hath set apart him that is godly for himself. The Lord will hear when I call unto him. Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. Selah. Offer the sacrifices of righteousness and put your trust in the Lord. There be many that say, who will show us any good? Lord, lift thou up the light of thy countenance upon us. Thou hast put gladness in my heart more than in the time that their corn and their wine increased. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. For thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety.
So here Mizmor. Here we have Mizmor Dalet. Dalet, the fourth letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet. Here, Mizmor Dalet. So here the K and D, just thinking off with the K and D, Cal and delete. You have it on the screen right there. Psalm 4. Just a couple of words from the summary right here. In the Hebrew, right, verse 1, right, is the part that says to the chief musician, or from the Hebrew translation for the leader with string music, or B negi notes. Now we emphasize that in the edit right there. B negi notes or together. B by way of negi note, bingi note. The bingi note. Because string music, the harps, very interesting correspondence we have with the Hebrew. And also for I called chosen the faithful Rastafari, we say bingi, and we say the strings, we call the drums, the harps. So we can see the spirit of it right there. But here, this is just to point out here, since this is an early psalm, right? This is like the fourth psalm. If you notice, the first psalm doesn't have a superscription, neither does the second psalm have a superscription. The third psalm, basically, superscription is a psalm of David, right? Mizmor David. And then it gives a little narrative when he fled from Absalom, his son, Bibarcho, Mipnei, Abshalom, Bino, his son, his Ben, Bino. So here we get the more familiar phrase, La Menat Seyach, that's in many of the Psalms, or to the chief musician. So what this is explaining here is that in Hebrew, verse 1 is the to the chief musician in the KJV, or for the leader with string music, a Psalm of David. Often that in the printings of the Bible, KJV, that is not accounted as a verse. So it says the Hebrew, verse 1, the superscription, that little small type, this is the designation to the leader, KJV-wise, to the chief musician. From then on, verses 1 to 8 in English translation corresponds to what we have in the Hebrew as verses 2 to 9. So in the Hebrew, there's 9 verses. In the KJV, there's 8, because in the Hebrew includes properly the superscription as a verse, just to kind of clarify that. But here in the notes, they bring it in the early Psalm 4. So when you find it later on, this nuance in the number difference, 1 or 2 verse difference between the KJV, King James Version, and the Ivrit and the Hebrew or the Sefer Tehillim. But here, the theme of the psalm is an evening psalm, an evening prayer. It's seen as an evening prayer, a tefillah of the evening in relief. Evening hymn of one who is unmoved before backbiters and men of little faith. Oh, ye of little faith, men of little credit, emunah, faith. So here, not to get into all the details here, but just a couple of words here, more from the K&D. The Davidic morning hymn. What is the morning of the dawning hymn? So when we look at Psalm 3, Mizmor Gimel, in the Hebrew Psalms and do the study, we find that it's a morning prayer. It's a prayer in the morning, a shacharit, a boker, tefillah, in distress. So we have a morning prayer in distress in Psalm 3. And in Psalm 4, we have an evening prayer in relief. So the Davidic morning prayer is now followed here by a Davidic evening hymn. It is evident that they belong together from the mutual relationship that we have in some of the verses, like Psalm 4, verse 7, and Psalm 3, verse 3, and Psalm 3, verse 6, with Psalm 4, verse 9. Now, I didn't check this out, but it might be that number difference. If you find the verse over one, well, that's because of the Hebrew to the English. They are the only 2 psalms in that the direct words of others are taken up in a prayer, a tefillah, with the formula, right? There's a particular formula that's used right here where it says many, right? Many say, right? Many, enough man, many man say, right? Rabim omrim, right? Omrim, rabim, enough ones, omrim are sayers. Now, the history and the chronological position of the one is expanded from the inscription of the other. So as we study the Psalms, we see the relationship between Psalm 3 and Psalm 4 right there. Right now, what's that? Quoesque? You know, I'm kind of curious like that. So here we're going to just do this right here. Let's just find out what that's supposed to mean. Sound like some Latin something. So let's do right here. Let's see if we can just find out what that means here. Right, together. Right, how long? Okay, the quouska, how long? I guess that's the how long in Latin. So there's that how long in the early part of the psalm right here at verse 3. How long? It follows that verses, well, actually I skipped over the part. So the quouske, like how long, Latin, in verse 3. Let's see right here. It says, B'nei ish adma kavodi likma havun rika be bakashua kazab selah. So that right there is, which verse is that? That's this verse. Let's see whether it's a verse over or not. KJV, but no, okay, it's a verse over. That'll be like verse 2 in the King James Version right there. It's a verse over, O ye sons of men. It's the one, O ye sons of men. So right there. Let's just come back right here. But then the feeble faith mentioned in the 6th, the 7th verse, and then it follows that psalm. Today's daily psalm is the latter of the 2. Right now, there's more on that, but we'll spare the item right now, right here. But it's a good study for ones that have the opportunity to study. Right, see some of the relationships of other books, of the Psalter, of the themes, of the ideas. So from studying the psalm can take us all over the scripts and give us a context of what's what. Now here where it says the Menatsiah, that's the chief musician, is one who shows eminent ability in any department, a Menatsiah. In the New Covenant, right, scriptures like Revelation, the Chazon, this word is the overcomer, Menatsiah. So Menatsiah, this term right here is translated in KJV as the chief musician, right? In the Hebrew as a leader, and also in Hebrew as the overcomer. So who is the Menatsiah? The chief musician, the leader, the overcomer is one who shows eminent ability in any department. And then it gains the general signification of master, director, chief, overseer. At the head of the Psalms, it is commonly understood of the direct, right, of the temple music, the director of the temple music. So it kind of goes into some of those details, explaining certain things, bringing out a little better context. There's one part here that we had touched on. Okay, that's the bingi note. Be a nigi note, the Hebrew there, be nigi note. That is added, is not governed by it. So this can be seen in other places in the scripture, right? The string music, my string music, be a nigi notai. In Habakkuk 3:19, that is be a nigi notai, on my harps, on my string music, right? Bingi note. And then it breaks down the word right there. You can see with strings, touching the strings, you know, to touch the strings, the naga, right? Naga, right? Nagiot, right? And other such Hebraic expressions. But here, getting to the first verse, as we're about to ride up, there's this expression that we have. This expression is Elohei Sidki, Sidki. Elohei Sidki, right? Or Elohei Sedek, right? Here in the scripts, it's Elohei Sidki. Sidki, right, is my righteousness, right? Sedek, justice, righteousness, the possessor, right? The Elohim of righteousness, the author of righteousness, and the vindicator of misjudged. Ever been misjudged and persecuted, right? Falsely prosecuted, you know, persecuted righteousness. The God of righteousness, Dawid, he calls Yahweh, right? Gives him this attributional name as the God of righteousness of my Elohei Sidki, of my righteousness, crediting, believing, right? Be living, right? Calling, right, his Elohim. Elsewhere, he also uses that particular inflection, that particular name. So Yahweh means he who be. Yahweh is not really a name. It's a name, yes, as attributional, you know, Shem, but it really, in translation, is like a sentence. It's like an idea. He who becomes who he be, right? So for Dawid defines Yahweh as Elohei as Sidki, right? The Elohim, the possessor of my righteousness. For the righteousness that Dawid possesses, he possesses in him, in Hailahim and Elohim. And the righteousness he looks for in him, in Hailahim and Elohim, right? And this is not in vain. His previous experience assures him, right? Thou hast made a breath like a space. You're given space for eyes in this psalm. When in straits, like so, anxiety, straightness, tightness, constriction, right? You know, in a tight space, we feel things are tight, and then when things ease up, that breath of space is like you're not in a tight space, but you could breathe now. In other words, so right here, there's more here, but not to get into that. We'd like to have the time right here, but with the time right here, let's go to today's daily psalm. Here we have Mizmor Dalet, Psalm 4. So let's bring it up, KJV, right here, King James Version. Once again, an evening prayer. It's a prayer of the evening, a complement to the psalm before, which is a morning prayer in distress. So we have distress in the morning. We have relief in the evening. The same spirit pervades this psalm as in Psalm 3, the former psalm. And they should be read together, read or studied, Chaverim, Talmudim, you know, fellow disciples, study these together. But here, the writer in Psalm 4, Mizmor Dalet, now feels or perceives that his reliance, his trust, his dependence upon Eloheinu, the almighty power, in his time of trouble and difficulty has been justified, has been made justified and righteous, right? He's proven innocent, in other words, and a sense of tranquility now possesses him. So right here, let's bring up the first verse right here. Now, if you notice how this is broken down in HGPD, what we said at the beginning about the number difference in the Hebrew, the superscriptions included as the first verse, that might throw off the numbering. Here, superscription included with the KJV first verse. Lamanat Eyach, Bia Niginot, Mizmor Lid Dawid. Lamanat Eyach, Binginota, Mizmor Lid Dawid. Be Arei Aneni Elohei Sidkiya Batsara, Hirachabta Li, Chaneni, U Shema, Tiflati. Here to the chief musician on Neginot, be a Neginot, bin Ginot, a psalm of David, Mizmor Dawi. Hear me when I call, O Elohim, almighty power of my righteousness. Elohei Siddiqui, thou hast enlarged I when I was in distress. Balsar, hirchabta, Balsar in sar, Balsar in trouble, in tightness and distress. The sar, right? Narrowness, tightness, difficulty. Balsar, hirchabta, right? You have made it wide, you have enlarged rahab. Hirchabta, the eye has made wide and enlarged, leap. You have broadened the space. You have, so the stress is the tightness. So you have broadened it. You have relieved that tightness. Choneni, have mercy on ani, on I, and Shema, here. Shema Yisrael, here saying to Yahweh, Shema, Tefillati, Shema, O Yahweh, hear my tefillah, hear my prayer, my tefillah, right? So here, looking at the notes, let's look at the notes quickly right here. Chief musician or overseer, Menat Seyach, right? And to be gracious, right? Be gracious to I. Once again, on the chief musician part, Menat Seyach. Menat Seyach come from the root, the Hebrew roots, Natzach. Natzach means to excel, to be bright, to be preeminent, perpetual, right? Overseer, right? To act the part of an overseer. But when we get to the root of it, it's to glimmer from afar, like someone's preeminent, right? Predominant. Later on in the Hebrew use, it was a superintendent, especially of the temple services and music, right? To be permanent, right? And as we said, from the root sense, to overcome, the overcomer. La Menat Seyach, to the chief musician, the leader. This word can be found in 2 Chronicles, right? 2 Chronicles chapter 2, verse 1, to describe the overseer of the men who were building the Heikal. So in 2 Chronicles chapter 2, verse 1, the Hebrew Menat Seyach, chief musician, leader, right, is the word used to describe the overseer of the Mandan who were building the Heikal. In the Psalm headings, we find this in many Nuf Psalm headings, right? La Menat Seyach, right, to the Menat Seyach. It refers to the director of music, right? Like to my selector, to the chief musician. You know, he receives his instruction regarding the accompaniment of the psalm, of the mizmor, of the chant, in the words that follow. What words that follow? Be niginot, on the niginot, on the negina. Negina is singular, negina, plural, niginot, right? The music, right? Some say it's like taunting songs, like taunt, like, or a string music, right? But it has a sense of like to taunt, to mock, the Isis, chant them down, right? But usually in the Hebrew also the string music, right? The string music, just to bring out the sense of niginot or niginoth, right, is the plural. Here it says be niginot, right? With string music, accompanied by the niginot, right? Only string music were to be used to the exclusion of flutes and other sort of instruments. So there's a focus on certain type of instrumentation, especially for what we call for congregational collective worship, together Isis. So here, picking up with verse 1 to verse 3, we have an appeal. There's an appeal to Elohim, to the almighty power, the creator, the judge, right? And his enemies, right? And his enemies. Once again, the verse before you in the Hebrew, Bavrit, in the Yehudit, La Menat Seyach, Bia Niginota Mizmor Le Dawit. Bikari Aneni Elohei Sidki, Basara Hirchabta Li, Choneni Ushema Tifilati. So it has its own rhyme right there. Bikari Aneni Elohei Sidki, Basara Hirchabta Li, Choneni Ushema Tifilati. So hear me when I call. O God of my righteousness, O Elohim, right, of Tzedek, of my Tzedek. Putting it together in Hebrew here in the manuscripts, Elohei, the Elohim of Sidki, Sidki. The Hebrew word, right, when we talk about righteousness is Tzedek, right, the Hebrew word for innocent, right, is the same as righteous. Again, the Hebrew word for innocent, the same word defined as justice, rightness, righteousness. Let's scroll down right here to the Strong's, right? It's a noun masculine, right? Right. The right in the sense of natural right, moral right, legal right, equity, prosperity, but also Hebraically, it's the word for innocence, right? So tzedek, righteousness or innocence, and sadiq. Sadiq is like one who is righteous or innocent. So here the phrase is best translated as the Elohim of my vindication, being vindicated. Elohei Tzidki, Elohei Tzidki. He and I praise to him, praise to Eloheinu to prove him, to prove I in the right, and therefore thus to prove I innocent. Now, the second part of the verse where it says, thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress, can be brought out in translation as thou who didst set me free when I was in distress. Batzar hirhabta li. Hirhabta has broadened, loosened, broadened li for me. Thou who didst set me free when I was in distress, or batzar, in narrowness. In narrowness, the order of the word is batzar hirhabta li. So bringing out that, in narrowness, in tightness, batzar, in sar, right? Hirhabta, thou hast broadened. Hirhabta has broadened like a place, a space, li, for me. Hirhabta li. He and I had been hemmed in by relentless pursuers and false prosecutors. Now he and I can move more freely. When he says, have mercy upon me, be gracious, choneini, chonein ani, show hanan, show grace, show favor, right? Hanan ani, choneini, be gracious to me, as in the recent past, and so also in days to come. I know you be who you be, you be past, present, to come, as you have been in the past. Show to me now, choneini, that grace, that undeserved merit and favor, and in the days to come. So here, to the bayit, the Hebrew letter bayit, second letter, here to the second verse. O ye sons of men, how long? My glory into shame? Will your love vanity? Seek after leasing? Selah. Pause. Here. Let's bring out the Ivri, the Hebrew. B'nai ish, adma, kavodia lika lima, te ehabuna rika, te bakashu, kazab, selah. So there's a couple of questions right here, that he is asking right here. Another translation of this that might bring out the Hebrew sentence to the English is, oh, y'all sons of men, right? Here it uses the B'nai Ish, not B'nai Adam. Take note. B'nai Ish, Adma, Ad, going on until Ma, Adma or Admeh, in the accent. Admeh, Adma, how long? To say like until what? The literal sense is until what? Right? Ad, and then the word ma. They don't have that there in the Strong's word. But until what? Going on to what? Just to prove my point right there, here's the word. It has the ad, going on as far as ad, with ad, right? And it has the word meh, right? The word meh also enunciates ma. Ma means what? Right? Until what? Right? Brings out the sense of how long in the adverbial sense. Admeh, right? Admeh, right? B'nai ish, admeh, kavodi alika lima, right? So what's being brought out right here is, oh, y'all sons of men, how long, right? Shall my glory be put to shame, right? Shall my glory be put to shame? My glory, my kabod, kabodi, kabodi, kavodi, kabodi, my kabod, my gravity, my weight, my honor, right? Into shame. Li kalima, right? To kalima, li kalima, to disgrace, li kalima, right? How long will you? It doesn't use the word turn. The word turn is not there, but it's like my glory, right, to shame, right? Bringing out this idea, right? But who is being addressed? It's the B'nai, right? It's the sons, the B'nai, sons of Ish. Why does he use the term Ish and not Adam? I remember the different type of mind, Adam, Ish, Gever, Enosh, right? Well, why does he use the term Ish, right? Ish right here. Right, so Ish, here they say a man as an individual or a male person. Yes, that's generally correct. But in the Hebrew sense, B'nai Ish is not the more usual Adam. He addresses, therefore we know that Dawid, by saying B'nai Ish, he's addressing himself to the leaders, because Ish is usually for like a man of a position, of a station, and Adam is like common man, and Ish is like, for example, the leaders. He's speaking to the leaders among the rebels. The rebels are the Adam. They're the B'nai Adam. But here he's speaking to the leaders. As it says, both low and high, rich and poor together. The low man, according to the translations, B'nai Adam, common man. The high of station is B'nai Ish. So Dawid, by saying B'nai Ish right here in Sons of Man, is addressing himself to the leaders of the rebels and not to the rank and file. The rank and file will be the B'nai Adam, who had been misled. So when David said, B'nai Ish, Adme Kavodia Likalima, O your sons of Ish, how long shall my glory be put to shame? Te'ehavun, and loving, Te'ehavun, with your love. From Ahab, Ahab to love, right? Te'ahabun, you're like loving reek. What's reek? Loving reek. Remember when Yeshua says, don't call your brother Raka, right? Reek, emptiness, worthlessness, a sense of vain, reek, coming from the sense of ruk, to make empty, right? You empty, you don't have nothing, you empty, you pour it out, you empty. So what Dawid is saying right here, how long will you love that which is reek, right? Basically emptiness, worthlessness, right? That which is empty, that which is worthless. So what do we have right here? He speaks of his glory in the beginning, kavodi, my personal dignity as Melech. I have dignity as Melech and as anointed Melech that has been humiliated by this uprising, this creeping coup. My glory, kabodi, right? Likalima, you've turned into shame, right? In that your love vanity, te'ehabun reek. You love reek. You love vanity. Now, the same Hebrew word reek in vain is also found in Psalm 2, right? The first verse, Psalm 2, right? The vain scheme to dethrone him, to dethrone Dawid, and even the greater David and the greater son, to whom they had applied themselves, right? They were applied to this scheme to dethrone him. So he basically says to them right here, Te'habun reek, loving, your loving emptiness, reek, that which is emptiness, poured outness, Te'habun reek, Tivakshu chazab, Tivakishu, and your bakash is to seek. In Hebrew, we say like, please, do you want such and such? And I say, please, please, like, please do, I seek that. Bebabakisha. So bakash means to seek in that sense, right? To search out, to seek, right? By any method, specifically in worship or prayer, the implications to strive after. So here in the Hebrew it says, Tivakishu, like y'all are seeking kazab. Now, KJV says leasing. You see leasing? Leasing? They don't want to lease a car or something? No. Kazab is a lie. Kazab is falsehood. And you'll seek after falsehood. Tibakishu kazab. Tibakishu kazab. You're seeking after something that's untrue, that's deceptive, that's kazam, like a lie. Selah, pause, right? So seeking after falsehood, kazab, right? As we have right here, kazab, right? Here it means that will fail, right? And bring disappointment. Not just a lie, but that which will fail. It's deceptive. It's going to bring disappointment. It's like in Proverbs 23:3, when talk about deceitful food, right? Literally, the bread of falsehood, right? The bread of chazab is deceitful food, but literally it's the bread of falsehood. Their aim to make Avshalom Melech, will be nullified by Elohim, the Almighty Power, the Creator, the Judge. Right here, to the third verse, the Gimel verse right here, Aleph Beit Gimel, this first section, the appeal to Elohim, to the Creator, the Judge, and to his enemies. But know, be cognizant, know that Yahweh have set apart him that is godly for himself. Yahweh will hear when I call to him. So here have set apart, right? Pala made a distinction. Pala, fala made a distinction, right? Him that is chassid. It didn't say kadosh, but him that is chassid, him that is pious. The attribute of Yahweh is chesed, right? Loving kindness, mercy, loving kindness, chesed. So the idea of those who are chassid, godly or pious, is those who have received of Yahweh's attribute of loving kindness and mercy, and likewise reflect that attribute of loving kindness and mercy. So right here, the Hebrew, the Ivrit, the Yehudit, and know y'all, and know y'all, akia hafla, kia hafla, right there, sika, kia hafle, kia hafle, Yahuwah chasido, Yahuwah yishma, bikariya elayo, bikari elayo. When I call, bikari, in my calling, my kara, bikari elayo, to him, elayo. Modern Hebrew does say elav, but the more Afro-Shemitic pointing, elayo, bikari elayo. So first thing it begins off to say, but know, like to know, right? The word know is from the yada, right? The yada sense. The yod gets dropped when we make this a command, right? De'u, right? De'u, da can also be like to know, da, right? De'u, de'u, and know your key, hafle, right? For hafle, one who is filet, right? One who is set apart, right? That he has set apart, that Yahuwah has set apart, right? The chassid, right? Yahuwah have set apart for setting apart Yahuwah the chassid, the pious one. But know, and know y'all this, de'u, and de'u, and know y'all, he gives a conclusive reason why they should abandon their plan. So this kind of connects with the whole Absalom revolt right there. They should abandon their plan. It's a bad plan. His kingship, Dawid is stating right here, his kingship was determined by Elohim, by the supreme creator and judge, Yahuwah Eloheinu, right? It was determined. He's the elect, right? In that other words, of God. So all these plans and schemes are going to fall flat. That he has chosen, right, or set apart, hafle, the chassid, right? Chassido, the one who is chassid, the godly one, the goodly one, the chassid. This is a frequent word in the Psalms, the Tehillim. It's used in two senses, chassid. Let's bring this down right here. This is used in two senses, like, other Yehudis call their sect Hasidim, but before them, this word exists. Hasid is used in two senses. One of a person who demonstrates his love of Eloheinu, of the true good, the true God, of Elohim, of Yahweh Eloheinu, in the manner of his life, of his liberty, how he walks it out, how the halakha mean like the walking, as he walk it out. And, or the second sense, a person towards whom Yahweh Eloheinu has manifested chasido, his chesed, and his favor, his loving kindness and his favor. In this sense, the second definition actually would apply more so right here. The Hasid is the person to whom Elohim manifests Hasido, his Chesed. So from that attribute of Yahuwah, Hasidim, the Hasid, right here. But he says, speaking of here, that Yahuwah, right, will hear. Yahuwah Yishma, will shama in the sense of Yishma, he will hear. Yahuwah, he who he be. Yishma will hear. Bekari Elayo, right? He will hear when I call, when I kara to him. The sense is he will hear, but in Hebrew, the Yishma can have the sense of he hears. He's hearing and he will hear, right? Yahuwah Yishma. Yahuwah hears and he will hear. He will hear because he hears. It's like from the present going forward, right? He hears. Since he is Hasid, so Dawid is saying that he is a Hasid, right? His petition, he's a goodly, godly one to Yahweh Eloheinu, will not go unanswered. He had prayed for victory, for Yeshua over his ops, the opponents. So he is assured, right? He is sure. He is certain. He's assured of it. So here, this leads us right here, Chaverim, to the 4th verse and to the next section. The next section right here. Look at those letters repeat right there, right? So here it says stand in awe. So here we get to the 4th verse. The 4th to the 5th verse is what his enemies should do. So now he's going to give advice, to his enemies, what they should do. What should they do? Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. Say la. Here, the Hebrew. Rigzua we'ala te cheta'u. And don't sin. Al te cheta'u. Cheta'u. Don't chata, don't sin, don't lack, don't miss the mark. Rigzu, tremble. Rigzu wa'ala te chata'u. Imru, speak, say, Imru. Bia levavekem. Vi levavekem. Modern Hebrew, vi levavekem. Here, ancient pointing. Imru. Bia levavekem. We'ala misha kabekem. With and all upon mishkab. Mishkab is like where you shakab. Shakab to lay down. It's like your bed, the place you lay down. With Allah mishkab bekem. The kem there, he's speaking to all of y'all. Imru, say all of y'all. Be a lebab bekem, and all of y'all lebab, hearts. Be lebab bekem, and lebab bekem, your hearts. With all, and upon, like while y'all are upon, with all. Mishkab bekem, and upon your mishkab. Domu, be silent. Domu, be dumb, be silent. Selah. What do we have here? Rigzu from ragaz, tremble, quake. Rigzu, tremble, quake, quiver with violent emotion. Feel it. Right? Especially anger or fear. Feel it after what he has said already. He's bringing it home right here. He says, tremble. The Hebrew of this is really tremble. Be afraid of Yahweh Eloheinu. If you are not afraid of me, be afraid of he who he be. Rigzu. He says to them, Rigzu, tremble. Wa'al, and don't techata'u. Va'al techata'u. Va'al techata'u. Techetau, wa'al techetau, and don't up, don't sin, don't miss the mark, sin not. The rebellion was a denial of Yahweh Eloheinu's ratzon, his will, with regard to his right to the throne. and consequently an act of uckfulness, of sinfulness. This is what he's advising his enemies in the conspiracy. Rigzu al techetau imru belibabekem and commune. Imru, talk. Imru. You see the word commune is from Amar. So it's a command to all of them. Imru. All of your say, speak, utter, think. Bilababekem, in your hearts, in your lebab, in the innermost of the innocence. Think on this. Think deep on this. In the quietness of the night, in the middle of the night, right? Make your conscience speak and convince you of the error of your way. And be still. Damam, right? We have the word damam, right? Damam is the root word, right? The verb, like to be still, to be silent, to grow dumb. The sense of it is not speaking, right? Not speaking. Cut the chatter, right? Here it says al mishkabe kem. Al mishkabe kem. So speak, right, in your heart when you're upon your beds. Imru bil babekem all upon a mishkabekem, upon your mishkab. So about the bed, right? Mishkab. The mishkab is like the lying down, the place of lying down, the bed, the couch. Also, mishkab can be a euphemism for sexual contact. But in this sense here, the mishkab, because you lay down, is the bed, the buyer, to sleep, euphemistically to have intercourse. But here, upon your beds, the place where you do all that, stop that and think about this right here. And he says, vidomu, and domu. And the command here is to be still. The command here is to be silent, right? Put an end to your rebellious activities against me, because cut off the talk. They talked themselves into that rebellion against David and the greater David. Right there. Here, the Selah musical interlude or pause. Here to the hey verse. Hey. Here to the fifth verse. He's giving them advice, right? What his enemies should do. Not what they're going to do, but what they should do, right? So even to the haters, give them good advice. Offer the sacrifices of righteousness and put your trust in Yahweh. Right? Zivachua, Zivachea, Tzedek, Oa Bitahu, Il Yahweh. Zibachu, Zabach, right, is sacrifices, Zabach. He has the command, Zibchu, Zibache, the sacrifices of. So to Zabach, the verb here, Zabach, Zibachu, right, the Zebach. Right, so we have Zabach, the verb, but here's the command. Zibchu, all of y'all, Zibchu, sacrifice, Zibache, the sacrifices of Tzedek, of righteousness, of innocence. Zibchu, Zibache, Tzedek. Zibchu, Zibache, Tzedek. And Bitachu, to put your trust, Batach. Always faithful, always sure. Put your confidence, your trust, your boldness, right? Here. Bitachu, il Yahuwah. Put your trust in or towards he who be in Yah's way. So here, the main part here is that offering, the sacrifices of righteousness. Zibahu, Zibchei, Tzedek. Zibahu, Zibchei, Tzedek. Offerings brought with a pure and a right motive and intent, and a penitent heart, as we have in Psalm 51, round about the 19th verse Hebraically, as opposed to what Isaiah says in Isaiah 1 and 13, as opposed to the offering of To'eba, disgusting, abomination, the offerings of abomination. Offer the offerings of righteousness. Zibachua, Zibachea, Tzedeka, Ua Bitachu, Iliyahua, and trust in Jehovah. Here, the Vav verse right here, the 6th verse right here. Now here, in verses 6, right, in verses 6 to 8, as we conclude today's daily psalm, we have more on that confidence, that patach, bitachon, bitachon, bitachon. That confidence, ifidence, Godfidence in Yahweh Eloheinu. His confidence in He who be who He be. He goes on to say in this section, verses 6 to 8, he says, many that say, many are the sayers, who will show us good? Yahweh, lift thou up the light of thy countenance upon us. So many that say, who will show us good? And then Dawid now, he answers to them. So here we have Rabim Omrim, Rabim, the Rab, Nuf, Rabim, Nuf Omrim, Rabim Omrim, right? Nuf sayers, Rabim Omrim, Mi Yareinu, Mi Yareinu, Mi who will Yareinu, who will show Aina, right? Yareinu, Mi Yareinu Tob, Mi Yareinu Tob, Mi Yareinu Tob, who will show us Tob, good, right? Nisa Aleinu Ora Paneka Yahuwah. So Dawid's answer to them is Nisa, right? Nisa, lift up Aleinu upon Ainai, or the light Paneka of your face, Yahuwah, oh, He who be who He be. So he kind of answers there, like who will show us any good? Things are so bad. Mi Yareinu Tov. Dawid answers, Nisa Aleinu, lift up upon Ainai, or the light, Paneka, the light of your face, of your presence, your perception, or Paneka, Yahuwah. Oh, that we could see some good. Mi Yareinu Tov. Mi Yareinu Tov, Mi Yareinu Tov, Mi Yareinu Tov. Who will show us some good? Oh, that we could see some good. More literally, who will show us any good, or who will show us goodness? Mi Yareinu Tov. The condition of the people was hard and hazardous at that time, the time of today's daily Psalm, Mizmor Dalet, Psalm 4, and many were discontented. I mean, David's own son rose up in rebellion against him and attempted to split the kingdom. In their longing for an improvement of their lot, they were ready to turn to any leader. This is what kind of led them after his son Absalom and Achitophel, right? To turn to any leader who made them promises, and that David's son Absalom did, right? And he did it in a fine style, and they went for it. And so they had rallied around Absalom, right? Rabim Omrim, there's many sayers. You see that talk. Rabim Omrim, Mi Yareinu Tov. Now, what is David's response right here? Nisa Aleinu, lift up upon us, or Paneka, Yahuwah, the light of the eye's face. Lift up thou the light of thy countenance, of thy face. This here is a direct quotation from the priestly benediction in the mouth of Dawid, in the mouth of David. How very interesting right here. Here we have a direct quotation from the priestly, right, from the priestly prayer right here. So when we go to Numbers chapter 6, the Nazarites. Interesting how we have the Nazarite vow, and then in that same chapter we have the priestly benediction, the priestly blessing, that word sound for empowerment and prosperity, right here. And then we have right here where David actually quotes this, Nisa. What was it? Nisa. Where do we have this right here? There we go. Nisa Aleinu, right? Lift up Aleinu upon Anu, Ayana, Al, Alai, above, upon. Nisa Aleinu, lift up upon us the or Paneka, right? The light of thy countenance. So it's a direct quotation, but what David does is he takes this quotation, right, and taking the verses and applying it not like upon the eye, right, but upon us, right? So taking what the priest would say, right, upon the eye, like say upon I and I, right, and applying it more here to upon us, right, upon us, because he's speaking. Remember, Dawid is still king. So Dawid, he hopes and expects better things for the people by praying that he, even he who be, Yahweh Eloheinu, would bless them, right? Would bless them. Right here, here, coming to the last of the two verses, today's daily psalm. Oh, just a word up to those who might be listening on the BTR, in the Blog Talk Radio. We have a little Rhema tune we'd like to share, on the outro right here where we conclude, but we don't have any more access to the board, after the the 3 hours. So that's where we're at right here. But here to the Zion Hebrew, right here to the Zion verse right here, the 7th verse right here. Thou hast put gladness in my heart more than the time their corn and their wine increase. Thou hast put gladness, right? Natata. Remember here, he's still speaking to Yahweh Eloheinu, right here, right? He says, Natata, right? Natata, Simcha. Natata, you have given, I has given Simcha. Simcha, what is Simcha? You have given Simcha, right? Joy, gladness, mirth. Natata Simcha, belibi, belibi, in my lib, my heart. May 8, from the time diganam, their corn, from the time that they're what? Diganam, dagan is corn, diganam is to say their corn, or to say more correctly like wheat, cereal, grain, corn, in that sense. More speaking of the grain, right? Diganam, right? So put more joy in my heart. The eye has put more joy in my heart. Natata simcha belibi. May from Eita diganam, from the time of the, we said the wheat, the cereal, the corn, with tirosham, vitirosham. Now, often here, vitirosham, right? Vitirosham, yeah, where Yitzharam. Is that there in the text? Right there, Yitzharam. Hold on for a moment, right there. Tirosham, Yitzharam. Okay, that's the HGPD. There, they're bringing it from the Hebrew, from the, the LXX, the Septuagint right there. So sometimes you see when they have these notes here, right? Here, the LXX has with Yitzharam. But here in the Hebrew says with tirosham. So we get into that little nuance right there. With tirosham rabu. What is tirosham? So we have the diganam from dagan. Dagan, they translate the KJV as corn, but actually means wheat, cereal, means grain, right? Dagan, to increase, right? That which increases, right? So both the word can mean the cereal, the wheat, the grain, but from the root word daga, the root verb means to multiply, to increase, to multiply rapidly, the rapid increase of like the wheat, speaking like to the harvest time, right? And their wine. Wine here we have as tirosh. When it says tirosham is there. The there at the end is a suffix added to say like their tirosh, tirosham. Tirosh means wine, fresh or new wine, right? Freshly pressed wine, right? The sense of expulsion, something being squeezed out, right? That which is freshly squeezed out, right? Fresh grape juice, right? It's a just squeeze, orange juice, just squeeze. That's like the tirosh. But in a figurative sense, it can mean like fermented wine. In a figurative sense, can be referring to wine, right? Or even fermented wine. But the idea is, and that which is squeezed out. So literally, this verse is saying from the time of increase and squeezing out, right? So in the Hebrew, from the time of increase and squeezing out. Natata simcha belibi me'eta diganama v'tiroshama rabu, right? More than when the increase of wheat and the squeezing out, right? We could say not just the wine, but other fruits being squeezed out to make drink, right? More than that. And food and drink can make glad, but he says, thou hast put gladness in my heart more than that, right? Gladness in my heart. Natata, Natata, the I has Natan. Natan is to put, right? To give, to put, right? Natata, the I, speaking directly. Simcha, simcha, gladness. Bit and libi, my heart. My eight, more than the eight, My eight, right? My eight, from the time, right? From the time, my eight, Diganam with Tirosham Rabu. With Tirosham Rabu. So here, he and I experiencing that Yahweh Elohim sent joy, simcha, right? That he contrasts. So Dawid here has given us a contrast between that joy, right, with the rejoicing that men make over an abundant harvest. Interesting where we're coming to in the time, the season right here, the harvest, the latter harvest at the end of the year. And he's saying that he who be who he be is infinitely superior, that gladness. So even more gladness. Not saying that the harvest can't bring a gladness, but Yahweh, he puts more gladness. He put more gladness than that. Natata simcha belibi. Me'eta deganam with tirosham rabu. Here. Here we come right here to the het verse, the 8th verse right here. Right here, going along to KJV. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. This here, like with Psalm 3 has a good verse there that can be said upon waking up, right? You know, like a word that can be said. I know we have the Modeh Ani, you know, Hebraically, I give thanks to thee, you know, that we say in the morning prayer in that sense. But this verse right here can be applied, you know, when they say, now that lay me down to sleep, and so forth and so on. But something more scriptural is this verse right here. Right, verse 8, KJVY, Psalm 4, verse 8. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Yahweh, only makest I to dwell in safety. Right, only makest I to dwell in safety. Now, in the Psalm before, since we're talking on it, we mentioned one might be like, well, what is the one from the other Psalm? Right, that would be verse 5 according to KJV, verse 6 in the Hebrew, the one upon waking up. Right, upon waking up is verse 5 in the KJV, Psalm 3, verse 5, KJV, verse 6 in the Hebrew. It says, I laid me down and I sleep. Really, in the Hebrew sense, it's like, and I slept. Ani shakabti, I lay down, shakab. Ani shakabti wa ishana, right? And ishana is like, and I slept, I sleep, right? You know, but the second part of the verse, especially upon rising, where it says, I awake, for Yahweh sustained me. I have awaked, right? Hek it's ot. Hek it's ot. I have awaked. I had awaked. Hek it's ot ki for Yahweh Yismekeni. Ki Yahweh Yismekeni. Ki for Yahweh Yismekeni has sustained me. But right here, good word right here. And peace will I both lay me down and sleep. Right, in peace. Right, Bishalom Yachdal. Eshakabah. Eshakabah is like I am doing that, like I'm laying down. That's what we say this is good for, laying down. Eshakabah. Eshkavah with Ishan. Eshkabah, I shakab, right? I shakab right here, right here. Shakab, right? To lie down. Eshkabah. I am like doing that. You know, Eshkabah. I'm both going to lay me down. Maybe it says both, right? Yachdal. I will do two things. I'm going to lay down and, right, he says right here to, now here, Ishan is like I am doing that now. Ishan, right? Ishan. Here we have Yashin. Yashin is the root, right? He slept. Yashin. Ishan. I will sleep, right? Ishan. Sleeping. So those two things, he says both. Yachad, yachad. Right? Here the verse says it as bit shalom. Oh, let me show the Hebrew right there. Here it says here, bit, the order of the words is this right here. The first part of the verse, right, that's highlighted. Bit shalom, in shalom, in peace. Yachdao, yachdao. Modern Hebrew, bit shalom yachdav. Bit shalom yachdav. Right? Ancient Afro-Semitic pointing, bit shalom yachdao. Yahdao, Eshekava, Eshekaba, with Ishan, Eshekaba, with an Ishan. So I will lay down and sleep. You know, sometimes one can lay down and not always sleep. Check. Right? So he says Yahdao, 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 Yahdav. He says together. Right? The sense of together as one. Let's go right here to the bring that down right here. The word both is yachad. Yachad means in union, right? In union, together, right? So he says yachdao, 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 like both of these things, right? Plural sense, both of these things together as one. What are these two things? Laying down and sleeping. His mind being now free from anxiety, the tsar, the tightness, constriction, lying down, shakab, and sleep, Yashan, Yashain, right? They become united. And he and I is not kept awake by fear, false evidence appearing real fear or phobia, right? Of impending danger, impending danger. And then right here for the last part of today's daily psalm, the second part of the verse, only, right? He says, for thou, Yahuwah, only makest me dwell in safety. La betach, la betach, la betach. Here. Right? Safety. It says, ki ata Yahuwah, li badad. Li badad. Okay, the Hebrew up there, right there. That's the first part of the verse. This is the second part. Right? Usually the verse has like two parts, like an A and a B. This would be like the B part. Okay, let's see if we can bring this around down there. There we go, right there. Here, the B part of the verse. Ki ata, ki for ata, the I male. Yahuwah, or he who be, who he be. Live badad, only la betach, right? In safety, toshiveni, right here, the word for batach, in safety, causes me to yasha, toshaveni, causes me to dwell, to remain. Literally, yasha means to sit, to be seated. But it has the context of you sit in the land, you dwell in the land, you remain in the land, right? Like especially to sit down as a judge in ambush, in quiet, by implication to dwell. The sense here, toshabeni, you cause ani, you cause I and I to yasha, and the I do it. So toshibei ni, ani, you cause me to dwell, to remain. It can also be in a sense of settle and to marry. It depends on the context. For the context right here, you only live badad, only badad, livado, badad, live badad in isolation, alone, nobody else, you alone, only Yahuwah Eloheinu, you separate from everyone and every other thing. You're the one that caused me to get a good night's rest, is what's being said right here. Dwell alone in safety. Dwell alone. Le badad la betach toshabeni. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 28 definitely goes along with this one right here. Deuteronomy 33, 28. Hold on for a moment. I'm going to get the hard copy. Hopefully you take a note of this right here for your own further study. Deuteronomy 33, 28. All right. So whenever we have these references, sometimes just take the time, here a little, there a little. Let's go here a little, 33. Let's go to 33, right? Verse 28. 33, 28. All right. We should go to Deuteronomy for more than just the curses for disobedience, 33, 28, right? It says right here, Yisrael, Israel, shall dwell, right? Israel then shall dwell in safety alone. You hear what Dawid is getting inspiration from? This word in Torah, right? No doubt inspired Dawid's words here in Mizmor Dalet in Psalm 4, right? Here, 8th verse KJV wise. We have the 9th verse in the Hebrew. Bishalom yachdal, eshet kabah ve'ishan, ki ata Yahuwah lebadad, la betach toshebeini. From Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 28. Yisrael, Israel, then shall dwell in safety alone. The fountain of Yaakov, full of verse, upon a land of corn and wine. Remember the corn and wine mentioned in the previous verse? Also his heavens, what? You got heavens. His heavens, right, shall drop down dew. His heavens shall drop down dew. As it says, when we do that which is pleasing Yahweh Eloheinu sight, he'll cause like the days of heaven on earth. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. So Deuteronomy 33 and 28 says that Israel, Yisrael then, right, shall dwell in safety alone. Dawid says, for thou, Yahweh, makest I, even I and I, to dwell alone in safety. Kiata, Yahweh lebadad, la betacha toshebeini. Even without human allies, right, and friends and people who, just getting confused by the whole thing. They love David, but they're like, okay, this is his son, and, they're getting, So even without them, Dawid is saying, these human allies, he is able to enjoy safety and a good night's rest. The Hebrew accentuation, however, sometimes would favor more of the RV reading, the Revised Version. For thou, Yahuwah, alone makest me dwell, right? Makest me dwell. To him alone. Right, to him alone is he, Dawid and I indebted for his safety. Right, so some readings of this might bring it out right here, for thou Yahuwah only, right, for thou Yahuwah alone. So badad can bring out that sense like libado, ain od libado, there's none other but he. Right, so Dawid is building on the ain od milvado kind of theme. There's none other. Right? There's none other. So somebody does witchcraft or some other kind of thing, but there's no other power but his power. Even the evildoers, they don't got no power on their own. All power belongs to Yahweh, so only Yahweh alone. So this sense right here, where it says only makest me dwell in safety, can also be brought out as for thou, the I, Kiata, for the I, Yahweh, libadad, alone makest I, even I and I, to dwell in safety. So yes, so this verse here, the closing verse, a good medi, if one would choose, to invoke Yahuwah upon rest, and blessed rest, Laila Tov, Chaber Shali. Brothers and sisters, still on the BTR, we're going right here, to the Rastafari Israelites for the outro right here, and also Rastafari Groundation. So first things first, we're going to sign out of this right here, and then those who still are on the live stream, just stay tuned, just a little bit more here. Laila Tov, Chaber Shali, Bashem Yeshua.
Thank you for using Blog Talk.
Away from Africa with the intention to steal our culture. That good Father passed by and said, humble yourself, my children, humble yourself, my little one, humble yourself. Oh, my brother, E.T. Wadada.
Yes, Melkam Adis Ahmed, Lehulachu, Begziabia, Be Jesus Christus, Be cool. Happy to those observing the Ethiopian New Year. Short count 2017, long count,
right? Was a long count, 7,500 and what? Yeah, 17 right here. Long count calendar right here. Ethiopian happy Ethiopian New Year. Malcolm and Kutatash, right? Traditionally one saying Kutatash, right? Or Malcolm Adis, beautifully good Adis new, right? Amet Aderesachu. May it reach all of you. May Xavier in Yahweh's name, may Jesus Christus be cool, and through the name of Yeshua HaMoshiach. Bless it. So here again in Degana.
Us away from Africa with the intention to steal our culture. That good Father passed by and said, humble yourself, my children. Humble yourself, my little one. Humble yourself. Oh, my brother, E.T. Wadada.
Psalm 4.
מזמור ד' למנצח בנגינות מזמור לדוד.
Hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness.
וקוראי ענני אלוהי צדקי.
Thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress.
בצר הרחבת לי.
Have mercy upon me and hear my prayer.
חונני ושמע תפילתי.
O ye sons of men.
בני איש.
How long will ye turn my glory into shame? How long will ye love vanity and seek after leasing? Selah. But know that the Lord hath set apart him that is godly for himself. The Lord will hear when I call unto him. Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. Selah. Offer the sacrifices of righteousness and put your trust in the Lord. There be many that say, who will show us any good? Lord, lift thou up the light of thy countenance upon us. Thou hast put gladness in my heart more than in the time that their corn and their wine increased. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. For thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety.
מזמור ד' למנצח בנגינות מזמור לדוד. בקוראי ענני אלוהי צדקי, בצר הרחבת לי, חונני ושמע תפילתי. בני איש עד מכבודי לכלימה תאהבון ריק, תבקשו חזב סלע. ודעו כי הפלא אדוני חסיד לו, אדוני ישמע בקורי אליו. ריכזו ואל תחטאו, אמרו בלבבכם על משכבכם ודומו סלע. זבחו זבחי צדק וביטחו אל אדוני. רבים אומרים מי יראינו טוב, נשא עלינו אור פניך אדוני. נתת שמחה וליבי, מעת דגנם ותירושם רבו. בשלום יחדיו אשכבה ואישן, כי אתה אדוני לבדד לבטח תושיבני.
Yes. Says Malcolm Ehud. Sliha, Malcolm. Yeah, that's Sunday right there. Just so excited right here. I know we didn't touch on it, but hopefully on a new broadcast with a new day. But here, it's already Ethiopian New Year there. Malcolm Adis, like Hadasha, new, renewed. Adis Ahmet, new year, new cycle, as the heavens turn around this earthly plane. Here. Pick this up here on the WhatsApp. Want to share this here. You crown the year with your bounty, and your carts overflow with abundance. So happy that Ones and Ones put this together for the new year, because Psalm 65, we have Psalm 65 right here, 65:11. Psalm 65 is a harvest hymn. Here comes the latter harvest in the year, right here. You crown it. So verse 11, thou crownest the year with thy goodness, and thy paths, right, drop fatness. Here, this verse here for the new year, right? This psalm also is a psalm for the new year. Atata, shanata, tovateka, the I told. Uma egaleka. It's interesting right here, because I see in them Amharic, I'm going to just share the Amharic right here. Magaleka, Magal is also like a cart, can be like a cart, right? U and Magaleka, and the I cart, Yerafun, kind of like drop with like fullness, fatness, from the latter rains, the latter times. Yerafun, Dashen, like the fatness, abundance, the sense of saying like with abundance. This is like a bold image of Yahweh and Eloheinu, of Exyaviher, Bamarinya, Exyaviher, Amlakachin, passing over the land and sprinkling the latter rain. The earlier rain, the earlier harvest, the Pentecost time, and here the latter rain. This is what ensures a rich and a bountiful harvest. So here, the I crownest the year with thy goodness, thy generosity, thy bountifulness, and thy paths, thy carts, they drop with abundance, or with fatness. They drop, they overflow, the sense of they overflow. Here, Melkam Adis Amet Aderasatchu may reach all of the I them. The Exavia and the Sustainer, the Jesus Christos, Simbekul, through the name of the King of Kings Christ, Yeshua HaMoshiach, Jesus Christos. Here we have the Amharic right here. Bechernet, cher mean like goodness, but cher is an ancient term. It means like open-handedness. The sense of chernet is like, cher is like open-handed, chernet is like open-handedness, but chernete, in the I, male, open-handedness. Speaking to Xavier, Yahweh, Eloheinu. Bechernete, ametin tak edajale. Ametin, the amet. Like we say, adis, amet, ametin, tak edajale. That you crown the year, right? Midre bedawim, right? And like the wilderness, the pasture lands, the wilderness, not like a desert wilderness, but like the pasture where animals go to graze, Midre Bedawim, and the pasture, the wilderness. Sibin, sib is like fatness, like the dashen in Hebrew. The sibin yit egbal, and they are satisfied with fatness, to say like satisfied with abundance. This is from Mizmore Dawit, right? Ethiopically, Metzaf Kedus, Book of the Seven Seals, Psalm of David, Mizmore Dawit, the Psalms of David, 65:11 for the Melkam Adis Amet. Right, Bechernete Ametina tak edajal midre bedawim masibinna yit egbal. Mezmore Dawit 65:11. Melkam Adis Amet. Beautifully good, beautifully good. Melkam Adis, new. Amet, new year, new cycle, revolution of time. Here on the outro. Here, Amharic of the Psalm 4 right here for the outro. Melkam Adis Amet Aderasatchu.
Take us away from Africa with the intention to steal our culture. that good Father passed by and said, humble yourself, my children, humble yourself, my little one, humble yourself. Oh, my brother E.T.
መዝሙር 4 ለመዘምራን አለቃ በበገናዎች የዳዊት መዝሙር። የጽድቄ አምላክ በጠራሁት
Take us away from Africa with the intention to steal our culture. The good Father passed by and said, humble yourself, my children, humble yourself, my little one, humble yourself. Oh, my brother E.T.
መዝሙር 4 ለመዘምራን አለቃ በበገናዎች የዳዊት መዝሙር። የጽድቄ አምላክ በጠራሁት ጊዜ መለሰልኝ፣ በጭንቀቴም አሰፋህልኝ። ማረኝ፣ ጸሎቴንም ስማ። እናንተ የሰው ልጆች እስከ መቼ ድረስ ልባችሁን ታከብዳላችሁ? ከንቱ ነገርን ለምን ትወዳላችሁ? ሐሰትንም ለምን ትሻላችሁ? እግዚአብሔር በጻድቁ እንደ ተገለጠ እወቁ። እግዚአብሔር ወደ እርሱ በተጣራው ጊዜ ይሰማኛል። ተቆጡ፣ ነገር ግን ኃጢአትን አታድርጉ። በመኝታችሁ ሳላችሁ በልባችሁ አስቡ፣ ዝም በሉ። የጽድቅን መሥዋዕት ሰዉ፣ በእግዚአብሔርም ታመኑ። በጎውን ማን ያሳየናል የሚሉ ብዙ ናቸው። አቤቱ የፊትህ ብርሃን በላያችን ታወቀ፣ በልቤ ደስታን ጨመር። ከስንዴ ፍሬና ከወይን ከዘይትም ይልቅ በዛ። በሰላም እተኛለሁ አንቀላፋለሁ። አቤቱ አንተ ብቻህን በእምነት አሳድረኸኛልና።
Psalm 4. Hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness. Thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress. Have mercy upon me, and hear my prayer. O ye sons of men, how long will ye turn my glory into shame? How long will ye love vanity, and seek after leasing? See. But know that the Lord hath set apart him that is godly for himself. The Lord will hear when I call out. Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed, and be still. See. Offer the sacrifices of righteousness, and put your trust in the Lord. There be many that say, who will show us any good? Lord, lift thou up the light of thy countenance upon us. Thou hast put gladness in my heart, more than in the time that their corn and their wine increased. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety.
Food, shelter, and clothes. I ever give thanks to highly, highly, highly. What I'm in love in Africa. Humble yourself. Whoa.
Wadada, Rastafari. You can say way of saying, and then the Rastafari way of saying, wedada, to love, Right, wadada. Yes, yes. Beloved ones, right here. Have a blessed rest, a blessed rise. Yes, I, Rastafari, Melkam, Adis Ahmet, Adarasachu. Yes, you be well, you and your families in this new cycle, this new season, this new time. Shalom, Chabarim. Shalom. Hashem Yeshua, Yeshua Shalom. Rastafari. Yes, I. Be well.